Tanzania's economy is expected to grow by 5.6%. It will be the third fastest growing economy in Africa for this year. The World Bank has ranked Tanzania the 10th richest country in Africa by overall gross domestic product (GDP) based on the current exchange rate. Here now are the details of this and other stories making headlines across Africa.
Nigeria is currently the continent's largest economy, followed by South Africa and Egypt. However, Tanzania is not among the top 10 economies in the continent by overall GDP based on purchasing power parity. Although Tanzania, alongside Cote d'Ivoire and Rwanda, will ride high in growth, the situation will be slightly different for the continent. According to the UN, Africa's economic growth is expected to be impacted negatively by several factors in 2023. The growth is projected to fall from 4.1% registered last year to 3.8% this year. Exports will continue to fall, while elsewhere investors remain reluctant to take a risk with their money. While growth in 2023 is expected to increase for West Africa, it is expected to remain stable in East and Central Africa. North and Southern Africa, which have the largest economies in the continent, will see a fall in growth. These have been attributed to a major rise in global inflation, higher borrowing costs, as well as impact of climate change. Meanwhile, Rwanda plans to issue digital identity cards within 3 years to allow residents to use the documents stored in their phones and replace their current physical IDs. Rwanda signed a financing agreement for the $40 million for the execution of the digital ID system, but that the disbursement of the funds will be done after the law has been enacted to pave the way for the project implementation. The digital identification of people is among other key enablers of economic development and social transformation. Different from the current situation where a person is entitled to an ID card when they are aged at least 16, the bill provides that babies will also get digital IDs. Also, biometrics will be even collected from children aged 5 years. Finally, Zimbabwe will soon introduce a gold-backed digital currency meant to stabilize the local unit from its continued depreciation against the dollar. This will allow those holding small amounts of Zimbabwe dollar to exchange their money for digital tokens to store value and hedge against currency volatility. Last year, the South African country also introduced gold coins in a bid to mop up excess liquidity and stabilize the local units. Zimbabwe abandoned its currency in 2009, replacing it mainly with the US dollar after an episode of hyperinflation rendered the local money worthless. The Zimbabwe dollar was reintroduced in 2019 in a bid to revive the stagnating economy, but the government in June decided to make the greenback legal tender again to try and tame rampant price increase. Terry Njenga, Lunchtime News.